Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and in this video we've got part 3 of the interview with Fiene from Niovel. If you want to see the earlier parts of the interview, then have a look in the description section down there. I'll put some links to them. This is ended up being quite a long discussion, so I've split it over a number of videos, and this is part 3, so let's get back into the discussion.
I don't know where you want to start the year, but let's say you start in December, you have the digital release. That's always on the, I think it's the 16th of December. That's Niovel Day. That will not change unless there is a really good reason. We initially just picked that date because that's when it was done. And that was kind of like when you had the 4 weeks in advance and stuff, like that's how it fit. It was done at the end. We didn't want to wait until the next. We didn't want to make it 2022 with the first one. So that's how that came about. And so that's the date, and that will be the date coming forward. If we have an album, it's going to come out then. And then I go on my Christmas break. And then once I'm conscious again, anytime between the 5th and the 15th of January. Like, it depends on how I'm doing. I think sometimes we manage, but sometimes we're a bit early, sometimes we're a bit later. Depends really on how much recovery time I need, because we're traveling for Christmas always to my husband's family who's in the US. So like once I come off of that and sort of am in the right time zone again and can think straight again, like we start preparing for the Kickstarter campaign, and that'll be launched in January and goes for 30 days or whatever, 4 weeks roughly. And then that's kind of when we decide, okay, are we doing CDs? If we do any extra items, that's kind of what it's getting more complex now, because the first one was literally just like have our CD, the end. And now we have the CD, you can have all of the CDs, we have an extra item. So it's kind of getting a little bit complex. I don't know how we're gonna. Simon is always like on the side of super simple, and I'm always on the side of I want to try adding new things. And somewhere in the middle there we meet, but that is in January, so that will finish sometime in February. At that time, we usually have 4 or 5 songs for the next album already that kind of either appeared on the tail end of the previous year, that were written sort of like over the summer of the previous year or whatever. So then February, March, April, super busy with getting the CDs done and so on and so forth. Writing always happens on the side, because Simon and I meet every Friday. Still, to this day, every Friday we meet and do band stuff. And so that happens all throughout the year in sort of phases. There's always kind of a surge, and then we go and do something else again. And then, but then, in April, April, early May, we're done with all of the shipping, with all of the Kickstarter stuff. And that's usually when we then go into the earnest production phase for the next album. So we book the studio time, we get the guest spots together, all of that. Usually the album in terms of writing is almost done by then. We've had incidences where we're like, we have 8 out of 10 songs or something, or there's, right now we have everything done. I think we have 10 out of 10, but it could be that we swap one or something. So like we still have a little bit, but most of it is done. Most of it is also recorded. That was a massive accelerator for us when we started to actually book studio time instead of my recording it at home by myself. Because what took me like 3 months to do before, it was just done in 2 days in the studio. Super efficient. And so this year, for example, our main studio time is already done. We might book like a half day towards the end if we have retakes or something else, but mostly done. And then over the summer, there is kind of finishing up the production. Right now, we already have like 2 more songs for kind of maybe the next one, right? So like you see sort of towards the tail end of the summer, we write for the next one and finish up this production. And then there is this problem that we started with the Alchemist video, that now we have to have a video for the singles, which is always like my pièce de résistance every year. I don't know what I'm going to do for the video yet, mostly because I don't know what I want to wear. My husband got into photography and he takes really wonderful footage. It's really, I think our visuals have improved. I very much support his hobby in this way because I look so much better. But that doesn't make coming up with the idea for the video any easier. It's just not something that comes naturally to me, but it is also not something that I am prepared to spend thousands of euros on, because I think it's a very nice thing to have, but it can get very expensive very quickly. And so I'm always like, well, let's see what we can come up with in our garden or whatever. Like the last one, Caravan was actually filmed in Simon's parents' garden and our attic in my house. You can do interesting things, but it's also not necessarily, to be honest, I don't think it is where we are focusing. Like, we will never be like the band with the greatest videos or something. Like, it is a fun thing, but it is also a lot of effort. But that happens over the summer, and then like in October or November, we release the single. And then in December, we release the album. So that's kind of like a year in the life of Niovel. And that's kind of how it works for us.
Yeah, because you'd said on social media that you've made the leap, you've left the day job and you are now full-time. Your job is now a band.
That was not on purpose. That was not on purpose. I mean, that was sort of something that I had always wanted to do, but that was actually not on purpose. That happened sort of, I guess you reach a point at some point where you have to make a decision always. And energy-wise, it just wasn't, I was completely booked with things. I was completely just no bandwidth whatsoever for anything. And at some point, you kind of have these two projects. One of them is an accounting career, and one of them is a metal band. And I was working in a small company, but I was like, if I want to have a career, I have to make a step upwards. I have to go to a larger company. I have to take on like more of a leadership role, whatever that may be. And the thing is, you can keep several things moving at once, but you cannot start several things at once. Like I cannot, once things are moving, it's fine, but like to start a new thing. So I knew if I was going to change jobs, if I was going to invest there, I was going to be doing nothing much else for like a year or two, right? Because that's kind of what it takes to keep that going. No matter what you do, like whether it's you start a degree or you start a new job or whatever, it's always like 6 months to 2 years of you're really focused on this thing. And I was able to get the band started because my day job was sort of on autopilot. I had gotten to a point where I was just doing my thing and I had everything running. And then everything started kind of falling apart in a way that I didn't appreciate. And I just didn't want to get it running again. Like I was basically like, no, I'm not like doing this starting things over thing. I don't have the energy. I just know. But then I was at like, okay, if I don't want to invest the energy here, then like, do I get another job? Or do I just sort of not get another job and see where I go from here? Now that said, I actually like I also had like I have a side gig that I've been doing for years, like, so like I have other things that I do. So it was never like, oh, and now you don't have any money, you're on the streets, basically. Like, so, there is some, thankfully I have some flexibility there. To kind of say like, okay, let's see how this goes if I have more to invest in the band. And I think it's very visible that like if you look at the social media, you can kind of see when, right? Like it's become a lot more active. I have a lot more bandwidth for like learning more about music production, for also just for recovery. Like before, I used to take a vacation day for the studio or go on the weekend, and then I was always worried, like, what if I'm too tired on Monday? Like it's always this navigating or negotiating, like, because I'm like, some people have the physical energy, like I just don't. Like I just have a limit, and then I'm kind of like, I cannot. I have to lie on the floor for 2 days. I'm sorry. And just kind of accepting that that's sort of the pattern that I have and seeing what is compatible with that. And the thing with the band though is it's the first time in my life, and that always makes me tear up a little bit because it is the first thing that I ever had, and I've started a whole bunch of things in my life, but it is the first time that I know what a priority feels like, right? Like anytime I start thinking about something else, I go like, but is it gonna hurt the band? Like my new question is, can I still put an album out in December? Like, because I think about signing up for a math degree or an accounting degree or to do some other interesting thing. I think about that like at least once a week because it's very interesting. I would love to have a math degree just so that I can say at parties, actually, I have a math degree that I never used. It would be the most fantastic thing to have and never use. But every time this pops up, I'm like, can I still release an album in December? And can I still do what that album needs? Like, can I still give it a fair shot? Because honestly, if it was only like to get the music out, I think that we could do with significantly less energy, right? But then I wouldn't be posting anything on social media. I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't be having a Kickstarter. I would just kind of like upload it to Bandcamp and be like, wash my hands of it, right? And that's not the goal though, right? Like the goal is to give each piece that we make also the best shot, because it doesn't count if nobody's listening. Like I actually am of those believers. I think that like if you make art for yourself, that's nice. That's a hobby. And that is completely, completely valid. It's a wonderful thing to spend your time making things just for yourself. Like no matter what it is, whether you're like writing stuff or you're crocheting or you're crafting or nobody forces you to share that with the world. But that's a hobby. That's like a thing that you do for yourself. Art takes two sides. Like there is me making it, but then there is also you perceiving it. And in order for my thing to kind of get the life it deserves, I have to find people to perceive it, right? Because interesting things happen actually, because it changes how I see my art, for example, right? Because I can tell you on every album, my favorite song is nobody else's favorite song, and everybody's favorite song certainly was not my favorite song. And still, I see the songs like, actually, Tension Rising is a good example. On the third album, there is a song called Tension Rising that I really struggled with. And I was kind of like, when I recorded it, it wasn't that I actively didn't like it, but it was like, it's not my favorite, but I'll do it for you kind of situation. And I really struggled with it. It did not come easy, and it is a lot of people's favorite. It's performing really well. And it's really meaningful to some people. Like I have gotten messages about it, and now, like 2 years almost later, I'm like, actually, that was quite nice. Like it's like. I think if you let people see your things, first of all, you disabuse yourself of your darlings, and you get to the kind of like, okay, that maybe really wasn't my best. It felt good, but that doesn't mean it is good. And then the other one felt awful, but that doesn't mean it is awful. And I think you kind of get you play a little less favoritism with your work when you let other people have it. That said, I actually would do this if nobody listened to it. Like I would do it, but my world would be very different. Like my perception of what I make would be very, very different, because I would never get unstuck from, oh, this is my current favorite or this is not my favorite. That said, though, honestly, if nobody likes my stuff, that's also fine. Like that is a wonderful thing that I have learned. I have developed quite the blasé attitude to, like, I don't like this over the last fantastic training ground, actually.
I think that's really important, because artistic people, like you say, you as an artist rather than just a hobbyist, you have to be showing you something, have to be creating something and sharing it. But the artist has always got this little man on the shoulder saying, well, what if people don't like it? And if you can overcome that voice and just say, don't let that hold you back.
Honestly, the cure for that, for me anyway, I don't know for anybody else, but for me, the cure is seeing how hard it is. Like, I'm kind of like, by the time I am through my studio stuff, and I'm like, there are like videos of me of like how physically difficult the process is. Like, I know that I have worked so hard at it, at the point where like I don't like, that has cured it for me, because I'm like, no, I know that I put everything in there.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's there's no room for imposter syndrome whatsoever. Because like if there was, I wouldn't be so tired. Like I wouldn't, like I really always have like I mean, we'll see if this gets better, but before, like, I used to really physically struggle through parts of the process because it's just a very physically demanding process. It's something that you don't think about, but listening to stuff is incredibly exhausting. Standing in the studio singing is incredibly exhausting. Like working on like writing isn't the problem. Hearing stuff for me is exhausting, right? So by the time like I've been so exhausted that I wanted to cry at point, and it's still worth it. Like I would do it over again, but it does not leave much room um for doubting myself, right? Or for it's like, because it doesn't matter that it was good, because I don't have control over that. I used to be this perfectionist, and I used to be super judgmental, and I used to judge like, is this movie good? Is this music good? Is this singer good? And I realized that that's a delusion, because we confuse good with I like it. Because
That very so important. So important.
unless you are a trained professional singer, you have no way of knowing whether what I do with my voice is good or not. Like if my singing teacher tells me, I'll believe him. If Miro, our mastering engineer, tells me, hey, this isn't great, I believe him, because he has the actual skill. Taste is not a skill, right? Like taste is literally something that just, I mean, you can develop it, but it's just, you know, for most people, it's not a skill. For most people, it's just like, do you like spinach or not? Do you like olives in your martini or not? It's, what about pickles? It's that level of, and it takes a lot more effort to kind of get to, like, is it good? And even then, it doesn't mean that the opinion is even useful. So I have fallen out of judging I don't judge anything anymore. I'm like, all Star Trek is fine by me. I like all Star Trek. I like all science fiction. It's like, give me a spaceship and I'll be happy. I can enjoy it, even if it's not like the most amazing thing I've ever seen. With music, the same thing. Like, give me something, especially live, I will go to almost anything. Now, when I want to feel a specific way or something, I'm like, to have discernment. But other than that, I'm kind of like, yeah, and I think the less judgy I got myself about it, the less sensitive I also got to other people's judgment, because I know when someone kind of goes like, this isn't metal and your vocals are way too soft, and I'm like, it's just not for you, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
And honestly, it might not be metal, but I have to call it something in order to get it in front of you, right? That's kind of like, I say it's symphonic metal, and honestly, half of the songs on any given album are not metal whatsoever. Like there's always a piano ballad, there's always like a folksy thing, there's always, there's like a synth pop or whatever, like some of it is like more synth wave, or whatever. You could get very specific. But when I take the thing as a whole and I say, here is a symphonic metal album, it seems to satisfy the expectation that sort of raises in people's mind most of the time. That's why I call it symphonic metal, even though I think it is more power metal sometimes. But I'm a woman, and it's like, I always joke, it's like, if it's a girl singing, it's symphonic metal. If it's a guy singing, it's power metal. But essentially, it's the same thing. But like, I have to call it something, right? And that's literally, and yeah, I don't know. I love when people like it. I love when people like it. And when people don't like it, I'm like, okay, it wasn't for you. I still made it. I'm still going to make the next one. Like, whatever.
Okay, and that's
like, it's a big world.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really important point, making that distinction between good and popular. Because we do have to say the two
Even
masters.
like, I like it. It's people confuse opinion with fact. And I think opinions are really, really important. Like, it's important that you have your own opinion and your own taste so that you can find more things that you like. And the sooner you decide you don't like something, the better, because I'm not wasting my time with you, right? Like, it's fantastic. Like, if you hear a snippet and you go like, this is not for me, I'm like, great. You know, we both know where we're going. Fantastic. That is so much better than being ambivalent. Right. And but yeah, it's been that has certainly, putting things out into the world has been an education in now. That said, I happen to be extremely lucky and have the most fantastic fans. Right. Like, I mean, it is very rare that someone will say something mean, and they are the most respectful, nicest, like, cheerful people. Like, I really love reading my comments, and especially when I have some people who comment like over and over again, and I'm like, you know, it's really, really nice. So I am also incredibly lucky that I have a very non-rude, seemingly emotionally well-regulated audience. Right.
That's good.
So
yeah. Okay, that's probably a good place to wind it up on a nice positive message. But before we do, I'll hand it over to you for any blatant plugs, if you want to tell people where they can find you online, social media links and so on. Where can people find you?
So like, I always say the best place to find us is where you're at. Pretty active on Facebook, Instagram, and recently also TikTok. Now, that said, if you want to kind of know more about us, then the website is obviously the best place to start, niovel.com, where you can also find all of our CDs and all of our t-shirts. I always have as I said, I love a handy package deal. So there is a CD plus t-shirt, and all of the CDs and the t-shirts are just all of the CDs package that you can have. So if you're looking for that. And other than that, I would say, so like, people ask me like, oh, what streamer is like the best one to use? And like, the one that you're using is the best.
So you're on Spotify and all the things.
Yeah. If you we're on Spotify, we're on Deezer, we're on YouTube Music, we're on Apple Music. We're literally everywhere where we can be. So in terms of like just listening to our music, whatever works for you is best for you. Now, I'm sure if you want to support us some way, you're gonna find a way. Right? If you want to give me some money, which I don't object to, go to the website, you'll figure it out.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
And then obviously see you in December, or like whenever. Like, when is the single I don't know when the single is coming out. When the video is done.
Yes.
When the video is done. But then like, the next album is coming in December.
Okay, that's great. Well, thanks very much for taking the time. I've really enjoyed chatting to you, getting some insights, and I say, really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to talk to me. So
thank you for reaching out.
No, and as someone from the northeast of England speaking to somebody in Germany, I'm contractually obliged to sign off by saying Auf Wiedersehen, Pet.
Auf Wiedersehen.